Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. People of Earth, welcome to part 2 of Build Executive Officer Kane from the motion picture Alien. This is a Polar Lights kit, resin kit. They didn't make a lot of those. I think the only other one I'm aware of is the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz, which is not easy to find, but a fun subject that we might tackle down the road. Why not? But today we're concentrating on my Alien build. Lots to update you on, lots to do, but I'm really happy with my progress. Look what's in front of me. Eggs! 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 Now, my new friends, rapidly becoming more than friends, it's like they're amazing, is the good people over at 3D Fig Lab. Check them out. 3D Fig Lab. They're on Patreon, Facebook. You can email them. They're 3dfiglab@gmail.com. Ricardo is awesome. The whole team is awesome, and they are really incredible artists. And obviously, they're subscribers to the channel, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you who are. And Ricardo dropped me a note and said, "Hey Phil, we'd like to contribute to your Kane build." And I'm thinking, okay, Ricardo, how are you going to do that? He said, let's make some eggs. Let's build that berm that Kane climbs down and falls into, and let's have a look at your base." And all of a sudden, it went crazyville over here. But sure enough, I said, why not? You know, I'm up for a challenge. And so they just threw a little something together, and here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this universe here. Let me show you my Kane base so far. Here we are. Look at this. I am super, super happy with where I am on this. So what you're looking at is Kane on the rough base, which I have now expanded. When we first looked at this and we first talked about this, it was just going to be this cutout, which is what most people are doing, most guys are doing. I've decided we're going to go one step further. And so what I've decided to do here is to essentially put him on this base. Now I'm testing some color, so don't worry about that. But we're going to sort of build this base into a larger moment, a larger scene, from the scene where he is attacked by the face hugger. And so what I'm proposing we do here is start adding some eggs around him. And I've started to sort of loosely figure out where those eggs should go. But if you think about, if you sort of think about it, there's plenty of opportunity here to either, surround him like this, or leave this gap open and play with it. Put a couple here and one there, and do something like that. Because what I want to do is I want to. Oh, and here's his flashlight. I finished the flashlight. That's here, and that's sort of ready to go. And but what I want to do is I'm going to extend out the tentacles. There are these tentacles. So let me take the eggs off for a second. Now what we've done too is we turned what could be a negative into a positive. There was a little problem with the STL file, which I used to my advantage, because we've puttied the top of these, and the genius of this is we can get some light through there, so that they'll flicker a little bit if we want to light them. Not sure I'm going to do that. It might be overkill, because I really want your attention to be focused on here. But I love having all the eggs. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these tendrils here that are essentially, what I think they are, is the root system for these eggs, right? They go out and they get their moisture or whatever they get, and they feed it back to whatever's incubating inside. It's sort of part of the whole process. But I'm going to get some epoxy sculpt, and I'm going to take these tendrils and I'm going to extend them all out down into this part of the base. They'll come all the way out, and they'll surround the eggs. And the wall, I'm hoping, we're waiting to see. I have not got the file yet. I'm expecting that any minute. Will sit along the back of here, and it's the berm that we remember from the film. I will try to pull up in this in the next segment or so. I'll try to pull up a frame grab that Ricardo found for me. And that we're copying. It's not a tall wall, but it's got some intricate details in it, and it's a very sort of dank, interesting kind of world. But I think we're going to be able to accomplish that. So we've got Kane here, and he's working. So I think I can show you just quickly what we've got lit up here, hopefully. Here we go. Now you'll notice the back of his backpack is good, so I'm pretty happy with that. Everything is lit. I chose to put a flashing light here just to give it some life. So it's not just on, but it's alive. And then in the front, his light is on here, which is great, and the light under his chin is on, and that illuminates his face quite nicely. It gives him quite an eerie glow, so I'm really happy about that. The flashlight will come in and sit here, pointing up to the egg, so we'll get some light from that. And then, of course, we're going to light the egg. And so the way I've decided we're going to do that is actually it's quite complicated. So let me kind of take you through that, and then we'll move to the next segment, because there's an awful lot to do, but that's okay. That's what it's about. This is one of those dioramas that I've gotten pretty excited about. So let me remove Kane gingerly and put him down for a second. His face turned out really well too. Let me show you what he's looking like here. So I'm pretty happy. That's the way you'll see him. I've got the top glasses in, but I haven't got those fogged yet. I'm going to create a little bit of fog for there. But he is looking really good. You unfortunately don't get to see an awful lot of him, but wow, am I happy with the detail work I did on this. I think in person it came out really well. Super happy with it. So the base is very simple. It's just the piece of resin that you get as a base with the kit. And then what I've done is I cut this piece to sit under it that I thought was just going to have the battery inside. It turned out that didn't make an awful lot of sense. I have put the switch here in the back, so that's fine. That's in. And then I should probably test that. But I put my battery clip at the back here. I found one of these wonderful clips, and because it's a 9-volt battery, it should last quite a while. So the idea is that everything will ultimately get glued down. The wires will pass through into the base. All of the sort of the surrounding base is gonna get covered with eggs and tendrils and stuff. So there's a lot going on there. I've ordered some. I just realized I've got to make sure I don't forget to put my hoses in. It's details. Now, from Evans Lighting Design, I've ordered some breathing ambers. And what I'm intending to do is I'm going to take what is essentially the hugger in its egg, and there's a couple of opportunities here. There's this opportunity here, which I'm going to drill these out, carve them out. I'm going to get my breathing lights in here, and I'm going to cover these with some solar res and soften them down a little bit with some paint. but these will become the beating hearts. So I'm going to have the beating hearts, and I may even have a couple more in the back, because that way you get this sort of even glow all the way around. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Now I do have another opportunity to drop a couple of ambers in the bottom here just to get some more flicker. But what I've got to be careful of is how bright his flashlight is, so it doesn't overpower what I'm doing over here. But that's basically what I'm going to do. And then, of course, all the eggs get to surround him like this. And I think it really adds to, it's going to add an element of detail to this. So once it's all sort of blended and shaped, it should start to make sense. Now, obviously, I've got a lot to do with these eggs. They've got to get dry brushed. They need a lighter color on top of them. This is just the base coat. And then I'm going to put a little bit of pink in here, just a little element of some other detail in here. But wow, am I super thrilled with these eggs? Could not be happier. And they actually, in my opinion, did a really knock-up job with them. They really did. Okay, so lots going on. I think the next thing I'm going to tackle is I'm going to get the hoses. I'm going to get these hoses situated, and I'm going to get them aged down and put on him because I forgot them. I'm going to work on my eggs and get those going. I'm also going to start getting some color on this base and get happy with it. And I'm also going to get some epoxy sculpt out and see what that means. But the problem is, here's the difficulty. I can't sort of, until this is glued down, I can't really start laying in my tendrils. And I can't put this base down until it's all wired up and glued up. So it's going to be a little tricky to sort of pull all this together, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Okay, great to have you with me. I'm excited about this build. We're gonna let's sort of progress, and we'll jump in if there's some detail work. For sure, we're going to jump in on the face hugger, and we're going to work on that together. Drill it all out, get all that detailed out, get this all painted, and we'll work on that together for sure. Okay, carrying on. So, working on the egg, and I'm just going very careful here to with this paint, but I like this color, and I've used it uniformly on all the other eggs that I've created. So I mean, and I'm sort of deliberately creating this kind of situation where it's heavier in some places and lighter in others. But obviously, I don't want to have an issue. I don't want to have an issue with light coming through. But I also have to be careful too, because I'm using this Badger paint, which I actually like. It's called Freak Flex. I don't know if you've ever seen it or used it. I love it. Now, the darker colors are fantastic. You don't need the primer; they prime. I mean, they have a sort of polyurethane skin to them. They'll dry in about 3 to 5 minutes. They can be handled, and some people. I don't know, some people like this stuff, some people go, nah, it's not for me, and that's okay. I experiment with all kinds of different paints for all kinds of different surfaces and situations. But this particular color, which they're calling Mossy Moor Brown, is a wonderful, it's just a wonderful color for this, for these eggs, I think. And I'm getting plenty of light into my eggs, so that's good. I've gone very very fine at first, just to make sure. But I know that I can go just a little heavier, so I'm going to. But I have to be careful too, because I don't want to ruin the effect of the light. But so far so good. So I'm going to get this situated, and then we'll work on the actual top of the egg, which I'm really excited to play with. We're really going to try to make this come alive, and I've got some ideas for that. So let me just keep working on this, and then we'll take a look at how we're going to attack the top of this egg. I'm going to start working on the inside of this egg. I'm using a Vallejo 70859. It's called Black Red, and I'm going to start with that because I think it's going to pull in all of the different veins and things quite nicely. So it's funny when you go to the hobby shop. I don't know if you're like this. I'm terribly lazy. You know, there are so many wonderfully talented artists out there. I mean, Augie Gonzalez, obviously, the great Lou Del Meso, even Ken, my friend Ken Spriggs, talented when it comes to paint. I'm still sort of learning the whole painting thing, and so what I tend to do is buy colors off the shelf. I'm not mixing my own, which is I suppose something I'm going to need to start doing if I want to up my game, but I haven't yet. Now it's interesting because in the article Raising Kane that we've been looking at, it appeared that the egg that they had to work with had it had, oh, that's a happy accident, sort of got this fleshy thing working with the green. That's very happy. I'm going to continue with that around the sides here. Holy moly, that's clever. Sorry, I just got carried away. But it appeared to have a lot more veinage on it than my egg does, which is fine. You know, we're going to work through it, and I've got a plan for those veins, which we'll work on together here on camera as soon as I get this base coat in and give it a chance to dry. But I wanted to just sort of show you how I'm going to start working on this egg, and hopefully this will come together on camera. I'm hoping it will. If it doesn't, c'est la vie, right? C'est la vie. Okay. So step one is sort of just to get this base coat on, which I've done, and so I'm going to let this dry, and then we will look at what the next step should be. I'm going to just clean this up a little bit, make this look a little nicer. There. But anyway, this is the base coat of the egg, and then once I've got this to where I'm happy with it, and I'm almost there, I just needed to come in here and clean up these edges a little bit, that's all. Just because, you know, it's anatomy, right? So it's going to have some form and it's going to have some function to it. And I just want to make sure that this has form and function to it. But wow, what a great color for guts. It's looking at this in person, it's like I'm pretty grossed out by it already, so I'm pretty excited. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll look at getting just a little gray dry brushing on there, just to get some just to get some highlights in there, and then we'll look at veins. Work continuing on the egg. So I've laid down my black red. I put a very light wash of a steel gray from a craft paint just to kind of dull it down just a little bit. And now I'm going to use my brown rose, which is a sort of a fleshier color, just to sort of bring out some of that. Now I'm sort of just testing this here just to see, and what I've done is I've sort of broken out the bristles a little bit on the brush. When you do that, you get this wonderful effect where you're not covering the whole thing. You're just getting a little bit of the paint on there, and I'm just sort of moving it around with the bristles, and just sort of picking everything up just to see if that makes a difference to the sort of fleshiness of it all. And then what I'll do is here I come in and I dab it all to sort of blend it, and you get this wonderful effect because you get the redness as well as the rosiness. Now we're gonna gloss this up like crazy as soon as we're done, and I think the net result is going to be quite stunning. Now, what you can do if you want to is you can always go back with your darker rose if you feel like you need just a little, just to bring that back a little bit if it's too peachy, and you can just keep doing this until you get the right combo that you're happy with. Now, you know, it's an alien egg, for the love of Jehovah, so I don't know. It's really about an effect more than it is anything else. But you keep working at it and you'll get something really fun. Yeah. So coming back with the brown, with the rose is making a huge difference in terms of just texture. So now, as I think I mentioned, my egg didn't have the kind of veinage that some of the eggs apparently have. I've spoken to a friend who said that I sent him a photo of my egg, and he said his veins were a lot deeper. Now, good luck trying to find this. You're sort of complaining to the wrong folk, and no, that's much better. I am super happy with that. That feels a lot more for right now. Here's where it gets interesting, because what I've got here is my dimensional craft paste. We've talked about this before. I think it's caulking. But it's in a little jar and it stays on my shelf. I don't need big tubes of caulking, but I think it's caulking. Although, it smells like caulking. I think it's caulking. But here's the plan. I'm going to take my dimensional paste and I'm going to put it into this syringe. And the idea is that I'm going to create my veins with my dimensional paste and let that dry, and then we'll soften that down once it dries. But I think this is going to work. So I'm not going to embarrass myself. Well, maybe I should embarrass myself. I think you've earned the right for me to embarrass myself on camera. But I'm going to put some of this paste into the syringe like this. I don't need a lot. I think that'll be more than enough. I'll do one more, because these syringes are completely, the thing about these syringes is they're disposable. You can wash them out. I'm going to wash mine out because it would be a sin not to. But if you wanted to, you could get rid of it. Okay, so let me just wipe off the top of my syringe here, and hopefully, let's see here. Let me get my post-it pad and see. Now, I'm going to follow some of the veins. And I'm going to try to make this work. Trying. Okay. Well, that's a good one. And I think once this is in here, I can kind of coax it around a little more. That's a good one. You got to kind of just let it push it through, and then move it as you push it through, and not try to there. Much better. Okay. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I do want to, I want to have my veins. Okay. Looks like this looks weird. Let me clean this one up. There. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, I suppose you could move it around a little bit if you want to. Yeah, you can. That's handy to know. What I like about this is it makes the veins pop. Now, we're going to put washes. We're going to put washes on that. But I think we're going to have a result. Once this dries, I should be able to I should be able to soften it. Sorry, I'm having too much fun. Okay. Well, anyway, you get the idea. I've got my veins. In. I'm going to let my veins dry, and then we're going to put some washes on this, and then it's going to get a final gloss coat with some goop around it. You know, sort of oozing out of the sides, because it's that moment where it was just about to explode at him. So I think I'm going to get a result here. Okay. Glad I shared that with you. We'll carry on. This is set up and is looking really good. So I'm happy with that. So now what I want to do is I want to use this wonderful wash that I like to use to really sort of knock this effect out of the park. So just have a brush here, and I'm going to sort of come in here, and whoa, easy. And we're going to get this in here. And don't forget, this will blend in, and it'll dry way back. And then we're going to get something super goopy on here. But this will calm down quite a bit. You know, I was always worried about these washes at first, but boy, have I fallen in love with them. Okay. Need a little more. Let's see here. And get this on here. And again, you know, it's sort of making sure that everything is covered. And then we're going to get some slime oozing down the side of it, and I'm going to use some of the green wash in just a minute here on the outside. I'm putting this a little heavier in the recesses, which is sort of makes a lot of sense, and I'm sort of bleeding it up just a little bit so it blends over nicely, like that. And we'll let that set up, and we'll see what that looks like. All right, and then after we've done that, I'm going to use oh, sorry, I'm always getting my fat head in the way. I don't know why I do that. You'd think I would know better at this point. And then while that is doing its thing, I'm going to use the green on the sides of our egg. And get it all the way up to the corners. Make sure it's all blended correctly. And I've left this quite light so that when our Evans Design lights come, we're going to be able to really go to town on this. Okay, so there you go. We'll let this dry out. You can see it's already starting to come back a little bit. And we'll get all these washes on, and then we'll take a look and see if it needs any tweaking. and then we'll get, we'll look at getting some ooze on here, where we'll just, a little bit of slimage, just to make sure that, it's looking quite dramatic. But I think you'll agree that this is quite a lovely effect for this egg. Very happy with it. And we'll get some of the same wash, this green wash, on the other eggs that we're going to put around the sides. And then we're going to take a look at my pièce de la résistance. My dear friends at 3D Fig Labs have sent me that berm wall that you see in the shot when Kane comes down into the egg chamber, and he slips down that berm. Well, they've created that berm for me, and we're going to use it in this diorama. I'm super excited. Lots to do before we get there, but it's coming together, and boy, is it a lot of fun. Okay, stick around. So now I've got some realistic water, and I'm gonna get a little bit in this. I don't need much. This is the Woodland Scenics realistic water, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get it into the top here and have it run down, and it's going to really create a wonderful sort of gooey, wet looking effect. I have to be careful. We don't need too much of it, but I also don't need to worry either, because I'm not going to be putting that much on. But it's I think it's going to make a huge difference, and I want to get it on while this is still wet, because I want it to kind of I want it to sort of stick with it. So I'm just carefully putting this on, and this will dry quite hard, but wet, it'll create a lovely wet look. And I'm just sort of just carefully dabbing it. I don't want to go crazy, but I also want to make sure that I get the edges so that it has this wonderful effect. And I'm just carefully dropping this on and letting it roll into the veins and into all the crevices, and it's gonna have this wonderful effect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully drizzle a little bit of it just down where I want it to appear as though it's just kind of a little sticky. So I've got nice coverage on that. Everything is covered. So I'm happy with that. And that's going to create a really lovely effect. Now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to put a little bit of this water effect just on the tops of the unopened eggs, just to give it a little bit of oozage, and to give that a little bit of just a wet look. So it's it's slimy, so that it feels like it's alive. And if it goes over the edges, that's okay. That's a good thing, because you want this kind of sliminess to sort of be on all corners of the top of the egg, where it feels like it's it's alive, and it's doing something. They're cooking. I really love playing with these different kinds of tools that we have at our and it's, you know, it's really just using your imagination. Sometimes I feel like I worry that we get a little anchored to a photo. Oh, it's got to look like this. Oh, it's got to look like that. Or, well, according to the frame grab, I see this and I see that. And that's fine, because you know, you want things to look like they did. But I also encourage you to push the envelope a little bit. Think outside the box. Let your imagination go crazy. Have some fun with your model. Don't feel like you've got to do something, you know, because otherwise it's not canon. And then you've got people saying, well, it doesn't look like this, or it should look like that. And I say, okay, well, I appreciate the advice, and some ideas are very good ones, but I want you to try something. And if you have an idea of how something should look, you try it. Try it on your own model. Get out there and I encourage you to do it, because that is the most important thing. The most important thing is not whether I'm the best, because I'm not, and I never will be, and not because it's the coolest looking idea, because it isn't. But it's to encourage you to go, wow, if he can do it, I can do it. Anybody can do it, and you can have something that you can really be proud of. I'm super proud of this. It's really coming together. So we're going to let our eggs cook here. I'm going to make sure I don't have. I do love this oozing, but I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be too obvious. But I do like in some of the areas here where it's built up and it looks a little slimy. I think that looks cool. Okay, so our eggs are coming together. That's exciting. I'm hoping that we can. Oh, well, we'll get what. Whoa. You see what happens when you have a desk full of stuff and you're not paying attention. That's me in a nutshell. Nutcase, I should say. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to start working on my. I'm desperate to start working on my face hugger, and it's in all of its glory. But I got to get those lights in, and my Evans Design package hasn't arrived yet. As I'm recording this moment, it's a Saturday night, and for you it'll be a nanosecond. For me, I'm traveling next week, so you'll have seen the first part of this. A week would have gone by. When I come back from my travels, my Evans Design package will be here. We can take a look at this because I need to drill into it. I'm not sure what I'm doing just yet, and I don't want to damage this. Now, I do have a print from my good friends at 3D Fig Labs, so I have more. If this breaks or there's an issue, I've got a better one. I bet you it is better. In fact, I may even try to print that. So the next time you see me, hopefully we're going to have some pieces of the berm wall that we can look at. And we'll pull a reference photo up, hopefully, and take a look at that as well. All coming together. Super exciting. I'm so glad you're with me on this journey, and thank you for being on this journey with me. I'm thrilled you're here. Well, the Evans Lighting package arrived. They're ridiculously fast, and the quality is just up there. Anyway, and I'm not paid to say that. I'm just telling you as a mere mortal. Okay, interesting dilemma, but I think that it's one of those curious things. You know, if you were to leave your egg perfectly clear, not do anything to it, perhaps the idea is that, you know, you can see the silhouette of the hugger. Now, I know that there are some there are some alien action figures out there on eBay. I don't know. I'm going to have to look around that come with huggers. And I recall that perhaps the size of that might be good enough that if you wanted to have it breaking out of here, you would just adjust what you would do on the top of the egg. You'd probably cut into it and create some soft tissue around it and have the egg exploding, that moment when it's about to explode. That won't be me. I have spent the morning working on how much of a silhouette you will get, and I have to say I've come up blank. I'm not able to effectively put any light in here at all, and I've put all kinds of different light in here, and effectively see the inside of this. I'm just not able to do it. I'm sure better minds than I will, and I'm sure when this goes out, there'll be a lot of suggestions in the comment section. But I've got so much going on this build now that I'm just okay with not doing that. I'm very happy with my egg. Here's my egg, sufficiently gooped up with its veinage, and it's been dry brushed, and I've put a little bit of I've kept this wet look on the sides, so I'm very, very, very happy with my egg. My egg's doing fine. It's in fact exactly what I wanted. All right, feel free to start throwing vegetables at your television screen. Sorry, it's early in the morning here on a Sunday, but I wanted to jump in and do this video because I got my package in last night. I checked the mail this morning, and there it was. Now, I've been experimenting, and it's interesting. I've got myself a couple of choices, and what I got myself was, sorry, I've been trying all kinds of things, so these are all bundled together, and I have to unbundle them now, which is, something I should have done off camera so that I didn't have to spend the next 20 minutes fighting with these, but all good. Okay, so what these are, they're called Mega in the SMD sort of verbiage of Evan Design. They're Megas. I've got them with 14-inch wires. They're cool whites, and everything's going to be running on 9 volts, so they should be quite bright. Now, when I plug that in, and I've had a bunch of them, this is a flickering light. So I've got to do a little bit of work I've got to drill my hole out a little bigger to get this up into the base. I'm sorry. I left and went to another planet just for a minute because I'm thinking about things. But anyway, let's get this on camera. So this is a flickering cool white. Let me cover it, get it a little darker. And what it does, there you go, you can see it there. It flickers. So then what I did is I put it inside my egg. And again, this is not placed correctly. And you get a lovely flicker. So I put a few of these around, and that will work nicely. Now, obviously, I've got to get it there. That's better. And you can see if it's sufficiently far away from the egg shell or the casing, you get a perfect glow. And I've got 4 of these. So that's one way I can go. And that works. And because I'm not able to see any kind of a silhouette from my hugger which goes in the center, the only thing it's good for is to glue my lights to and point them out towards the out of the shell. Now I will paint this just to paint it, because I should, and I'll know it's in there and sufficiently gooped up and finished. But it's going to be nothing more than a place to hold my lights. Now the reason why I like putting them on here and not on anything else is because of the angle of this. I can get some random angles, and that'll be good. Now the other option I have is a green flickering light, and I'm kind of leaning towards the green. Reason being is because you get two things. One, you get more greenage, and I like that. Here it is. Green always works well. It's nice and ghoulish looking. It's ghostly, and I actually happen to think the flicker on this is more interesting than the flicker on the Mega SMD. So now when you put this inside, and again, it's, you know, it's not sufficiently far enough away, but, and oops, I lost my power. Hang on here. There. But check this out. It's more interesting, it's more dynamic, and I think it's more alien. So, there, that's a better use of it, right there. There you go. So I think the green is the way to go. Now you could do a combination of both, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to take my greens, and I'm going to appropriately place them on my diorama, and I'm going to do a test fit first and see what I've got, and before we lock and load. But that's what I'm going to do. I wanted to share that with you because I wanted you to see that. So between all the lighting in Kane, his flashlight, what's going on here, and then everything else I'm going with the diorama, I think I'm wall to wall with stuff. So I don't think I can put any more stuff on this. And I'm pretty excited about the wall. Now, my new friends, Ricardo and his team over at 3D Fig Lab, have sent me a wall. It's printing right now. Take a look at what they sent me. Now, I could have had that base. They would have gladly made that for me, but I'm not going to use it. I've got my eggs. And then, of course, you can see the wall up there on the top. Now, take a look at this wall. Look at this. This is the wall from the film. It doesn't get any cooler than that. And they've given it to me in sections. I can have it both sides if you want to see it from the outside, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use my half wall. And I've got ends if I need them. How ridiculous is that? This is really going to really make this pop. And I don't know. I'm seriously considering whether or not I can get this to Wonderfest. I don't know. I have never brought anything to Wonderfest because I just don't want to deal with breakage. But if I ship this to Uncle Lou, he has said he will drive it up to Wonderfest for me. And that might be a way to go, is to ship it to Uncle Lou. I'll have to talk to him and see if he's still of a mind to do it. But hey, it's a way to get things there, and I know they're going to a safe place. Okay. So I am going to set this up for a test. Let's come back and look at the test when I've got these on here and anchored down. Let's take one last look at it before we commit to it. This is doing exactly what I had hoped it would do. I could not be happier. And it is super random. Now what I'm not sure about is whether or not a single 9-volt battery can handle all of this. It's not a tremendous amount of lights, but with the blinking light I have on his environmental oxygen pack, it's the only blinking light. Everything else are just lights. Plus 5 of these flickering lights. Everything is fine. to work with 9 volts, but I've got this on a transformer, so I've got a normal stream of power going to it. It's not like it's something that is reducing. So I might want to test these on a 9-volt battery and just see what I get. But wow, I mean, you can see just from the back side. Now that's from your side. My side is in the front here. Take a look at that. I'll push it to you a little bit, but that's a result. It's alive. The green is really helping. White wouldn't have helped at all. So I think this is a really, really strong result, and I'm going for it. I'm just going for it. Now I've got one single tragic light in the back here that's not working because it's just kind of there. So I will adjust that now because it just looks tragic sitting there. It's more Green Lantern than it is Alien. So we'll tweak that. But this is the view you'll see, kind of like that. And it's all random, so it's pretty good. I couldn't be happier with it. Couldn't be happier with it. That to me is an absolute result. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this for just final looks and make sure I've got it exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to permanently glue these in. Now they are on my hugger piece, which you can't see at all, but it makes a great post. So that's what I'm going with. And everything will get fed down into the base. Now, once all my wiring is down into the base, I can epoxy my base down, and I can start focusing on finishing this thing. Pretty exciting. In the next segment, hopefully I'm going to be able to show you the wall and those elements. But yeah, we're pushing towards the finish line, and I could not be happier. Well, this is what's known as an embarrassment of riches, a small dilemma, and an artistic POV, all colliding in one singular moment. I don't want my base any larger because I have a real estate issue, and if I am gonna travel this, and I haven't decided yet because I have to discuss it with Uncle Lou. But if I am going to travel with it, I don't want it. I certainly don't want it any larger. I'm picking up pieces of print support. Don't mind me. Okay, so here we are. I'm not on a turntable, forgive me, but I think you'll get the idea. I've got these wonderful wall sections that I've printed out. Look at these. Absolutely fantastic. They're beautiful. And I've got a couple of them. So the guys over at 3D Fig Lab just did a ridiculously amazing job. They all interconnect like that. Now, here's the dilemma. The dilemma is that prior to myself and the team over at 3D Fig Lab, we didn't really collaborate on the base. I think what they really intended for me to do was start again, but I don't really want to be honest with you, because I put a lot of work into this. I like the fact that it's on a small pedestal and the other eggs that I'm putting around it are a little lower, so it'll give it some visual. If it's all on one plane, yes, that's probably more accurate, but from a visual presentation, it doesn't work in my head. So what I'm thinking we've got here is, and also my switch is in the back, and if you recall, my 9 volts underneath. Forget my wires, because what I'm going to do is everything is glued down now here on top, so I can actually lift this whole thing up as a segment, wire everything in, and drop it down and epoxy it, and that's what I'm going to do after I've discussed this with you. I've got my my wall elements, which I think are going to live on this side. Now they can live on both sides like that. I could certainly do that if I wanted to, but then it looks like a couple of baby pianos. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've got my switch in the middle, which means that I couldn't really do anything much more. If I use one, if I keep them together, which I think makes the most sense, and I put them flush on the corner like that, you do get to see a little bit of the wall, and I like that. We then have an opportunity to put one more egg here. I think 2 in the front like this, and then a couple more here. I don't think I want any more than that. I think any more and it's just too much. So I have 1 egg more than I need. High class problem, right? I think that looks pretty good. So once this is appropriately painted and detailed out, the other thing I could do is I've got this wonderful wire tidy, just a small one, that's identical to the sort of tubing that was used in these actual walls. And what I could do is I could actually take this and I could actually glue this like to the end here and do something kind of interesting where this sort of dies down and around, something like that. And that will suggest that it's the end of a wall and something else is plugged in. Now I certainly could do that, and that actually makes a lot of sense. But I think once this berm is black, it's going to go away. Now I do have 1 corner piece which I could print and just have a corner and leave it at that. But I'm sort of living with this for a little bit. I don't have to do anything with it right away. I don't have to make any decisions right away, because the next thing that I'm doing is I'm going to glue this down, and then after I've glued this down, I'm just removing my eggs, which I absolutely love my eggs. And once I've glued this down, what I intend to do is I'm going to take these tentacles or tendricles or veins or whatever you call them, and I'm going to extend them out over the base and wrap them around the sides of the base here all the way around, and that will give a nice finish to the edge, and I think it will appropriately tie all my eggs together. So that's the next step. Everything else is in and glued in. I don't know if I can get you close enough to show you, but I'm going to try. Let's see here. I want to show you. Yeah, I think I can. I used smoke just to give a little bit of fogging to the top of my his helmet. Actually, I think the best way to show you this is to show it to. Let me show it to here. Let me show you it here, and I can turn this to camera like this, and I think you can see. There we go. I think you can see that it's sufficiently. I've just the light smoking around the edges, as it was in the film, and I'm going to leave all this glare because I like the way the light will bounce off of that. So I think that's going to be really good. I'm really happy with her. I think it's really starting to come together. It's a beautiful model without any fuss, you know. If you have it and you don't want to go to all this fuss, it sits beautifully like that, and you're fine, and you've got even more shelf space than you need. But I went to town a little bit, I don't know, because I thought it was kind of fun. And I think once I get all this blended in, I think things will start to make an awful lot of sense. Come to think of it, that works too if you want to do that. Look, that's sort of interesting. So I've got plenty of this. I can actually wrap this around the whole thing, and then that really, and then I can wrap my tentacles over it, and that really adds some drama to it. So I'm kind of liking that as well. Lots to figure out. This is the fun stage, but so far I'm really happy with it. So the next step for me is I've got to get all of this wired in, drop it down on the base, and let it glue up with some epoxy resin. And then once that's all set, and I know the lights are everything is working, then what I'm going to be able to do is just really concentrate on this finish. And at that point, I will have been able to think about this wall berm a little more, and perhaps see what it is that I really want to do. I don't know. It certainly could be redesigned. I could go back to the drawing board on this wall if I wanted to. That's another way to look at it. This is an interesting angle. How do I? Let me turn this to you and show you. I'm not on my Lazy Susan, but that's an interesting. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Only from the perspective of it's just everything was a lot more angular in the film. I think this makes the most sense for me. This setup here, just at the end flush. Take it flush to the end like that. I think that makes the most sense. And you just get a kiss of it at the back, and I like that. Then you've got room for an egg here. You actually, if you wanted to go crazy, there's room for another egg like that. In the back, you don't really see them, so it's actually not a bad idea to do that. And then I'm gonna, if I wanted to wrap my cord around like that, and don't forget I've got all of my tendricles that are going to come over here, and they're going to die out the end, so it'll all blend together and make an awful lot of sense. That might work. Okay, well, there's lots to think about and plenty to do, but I think we're getting there. So next steps for me and for you will be, I will have glued down the base to the base, the sort of the center stage, as it were, and then we will have had time to sort of think about this berm here. And see what I want to do. Because the other thing to think about is if I printed 2 more of these and I put them on this end, then I would have to get them specially made, and that's not a problem. I think the guys will do that for me. But then you still have this gap in the middle where you've got to be able to reach the switch. Didn't think about that. Could I scrap this and start again? Yeah, absolutely, because I've not done anything. And that may be a thing to do too. But I don't know. I've just fallen in love with the fact that this is on a pedestal and everything's below it. I like that. I like that sort of. I just like the way that presents. So anyway, these are all high-class problems. In the next segment, you'll probably have. You'll see what my decision is. I'm at a point now where I'm in the sort of the final of my diorama setup. I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm going with this. But one of the things that I have to do now is I have to bring these tentacles here. I have to bring these down onto my base. Now, the reason why I've left this in the brown green is because otherwise, if it's black, everything's going to get lost in the shadows, and I will be doing a lot of black washes later just to pull it all together. I'm pretty happy with this, but what I need to do now is I need to blend this proscenium, as it were, into the base. And the way I'm going to do that is with my good old-fashioned epoxy sculpt. Here it is. I've got a large tub of it here because I'm going to need an awful lot today. And I'm going to blend these down. And I've got my arrangement for my eggs in front. I've got 2 on a diagonal towards me on the left. And I've got another 2, which will be slightly more closer together on the right of my proscenium. And I've left this angle in the center, or this gap, I should say, in the center. I've left that deliberately. Now, I could add a 3rd egg, like here. I could do that. But then it starts to, I don't know. It feels to me like it might be too much. Now, he is in a world of eggs. But, you know, clusters of 3 look good with 2. But then that looks too arranged. Although, isn't this really a nest? And like bees, isn't everything arranged? So maybe that is the way to go. But then I was worried about when you look at this, well, you're not going to look straight ahead at it. You're actually probably going to look down on it, that will be okay. And it'll actually probably hide an awful lot of the sins. I've got my wall pieces. I've got 2 for... I've got 2 for the left side, and I've got 1 for the right, and then I've got an egg in the middle, which I'll just leave loose. And that's going to hide my switch, which is here, right here in the back. And that turns my that turns my diorama on and off. It's a really nice setup. And so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so you know, for display purposes, that's what you want to do. You want to kind of just not have I don't want to have a gap there, but I also want something to hide the switch, because otherwise, why didn't the wall go all the way across? And I like the fact that there's eggs in front and behind, so that's pretty good. So I'm going to start working on the tentacles now. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to start epoxy sculpting and blending them in. Now, I have to make sure that I can see where my tentacles are going to go. So I need to kind of, I need to get myself a marker, and I'm going to have to just mark where my tentacles are going to wrap around my eggs. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to mix up a bunch of my epoxy sculpt, and I'm going to get going. Now, I do have this wonderful piece of wire tidy. It's the right scale, and I'm thinking to myself, given the fact that an awful lot of this is in the production design of the original movie, it's used to run along the sort of the grids. You'll see it all over the place in the scene. And there is a part of me that thinks that maybe, you know, dropping some of this down in front might add another element to this. I don't know. Let me take the eggs off for a second here and let you see what I'm talking about. So if I move my epoxy sculpt out the way, maybe we can see it from this angle. Okay, so what I'm thinking about doing is just having it in the front, wrapping it around like this. Now, obviously, the epoxy sculpt, which I'm using to create the extensions of the tentacles, it will dye over this, so you won't see an awful lot of it. But what you do get is you do get that added value. Now, that's the plus. The minus is that it pushes my eggs out even further, and to the very edge here, and I don't know if it's worth it. I just don't know. So I'm going to give that one more think, but I do believe that my setup here is a good one. And if I am of a mind, maybe I will do sort of something like, something like that. Feels good. So they're all in front, and he's sort of around the eggs, and he's sort of walked on them, and that feels right. If I remove the center one, you do get more of a visual of him, but I think it just feels a little naked. So I am going to change my mind, which is good. This is why I have all these eggs. Bear in mind, I've got my wall here. I've got my wall here and here, so that will sort of give you this lovely backing to it. And then what I'll do is I'll attach some of the tentacles around it so it blends in. Okay, so enough blabber. Let's do it. So I'm going to mix up my epoxy sculpt, and I'm going to start laying these in and blending them in, and then we'll sort of figure out egg by egg where things wrap around, and hopefully this will start to really look pretty cool. So let me dive in, and we'll come back when I've got a little more progress here. Tentacle work underway. A couple of things I'm noticing. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do to the back of Kane's lower part of the pant. I've got just a little bit of touching up to do there, and then some aging. Fortunately, none of these eggs are obviously glued down yet, which means that I can continue to sort of place them and play with them. Now, the epoxy sculpt is in a pretty decent state right now, so but it dries out very fast, and so once you have it in a place that you sort of like it, you kind of have to leave it alone. Now, obviously, you can do a lot with water, but you really don't want to keep manhandling this stuff. You really want to just kind of leave it alone. But it's going down quite well, and I think you'll see here where we've got tentacles here, and you can see we're mimicking them quite well here. And obviously it makes it easier to see it in the white, but it's also a little confusing because it's like I don't get it. It'll all blend together, I promise you. I'm going around now and I'm just sort of doing my thing. I've got my chunk of epoxy resin, and I'm making my little sort of lengths that I'm rolling out. And the interesting thing about epoxy sculpt is that it's lovely to play with, but it can be very, very finicky. So you do have to kind of watch how much you manhandle it. At least that's the way that's the way, you know, that's my experience with it. But it's an awful lot of fun to drop these in. Now I'm going to see if I can't show you what I'm doing here, and I'm just kind of letting it do its thing, really, and then just letting it drop. And then once it's in position, once it hardens up and dries up, it's not going anywhere, and a little bit of water pushes that into position. And then I've got some of the texturing that I can lay on here too, so I'm not too worried about any of this in terms of how I you know, how it gets blended in. That's sort of a big part of it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to just keep laying these down so you can see what I'm doing, and I think that really adds that final touch to this, to the front of this model. I do have to be careful that I don't let any of these touch the bottom, because they're so fine that they'll just, well, they will. You'll just snap them. So I have to be careful that I don't have anything that like this one right here. You can't see if you can see it. If I turn it to camera, you can see it. It's this one right. Yeah, it's that one right there. You can see it's dropped below the bottom of the base. That will just snap off, even though it'll get hard. That's just too fragile. So I just gotta work with that and blend that in. But we are getting there. I'm going to continue to lay in my tentacles. Once all the tentacles are in, we'll come back and we'll look at a little more of me painting and blending those in. And we'll put the wall in place, and we'll start to work on the tentacles that sort of help build the wall. And this model will be pretty dangerously close to finish. I'm excited about it. I see light at the end of this tunnel. So let's carry on. Okay, I'm down to just some details. There's a few things I probably want to do, but probably won't get to in this final video. But at the moment, I'm actually adding a little bit of a red wash. That's my Army Painter Quick Shade. This is the red tone. You've seen me use this many times. I'm a big fan of these. And what I'm doing is I'm just getting it into some of the nooks and crannies here, which is adding just another layer of goopiness and weirdness to this. The veinage, as it were, you know, and just it's very subtle, but that red tone is pulling out a lot of the green, and that's what I'm really liking. When I made the decision to lock these in, what I did is I used my epoxy resin, my 1 minute epoxy resin, and I realized the clearness of it leaves this wonderful sort of oozy, goopy looking effect. And so I'm just taking that down just a little bit with the wash. And that will help just kind of pull it all together. But it's created this wonderful effect. I've got the lights on here, obviously, because I want to let them burn in. And I just want to go through a few of the things that I think, if I'm going to take this to Wonderfest, and I don't know if I will, you know, I always worry that it's just not good enough. But if I do have to make sure that I figure out just exactly how I'm gonna maintain this, transport it. That's the biggest challenge with this always, is figuring that out. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's take let me move this out of the way here, and we'll take a sort of a look around and see what we've got. Get that in the water, put that aside, and move this. And okay, so as you can see from this angle, and I'll turn this towards you, I've added the wall and the eggs, and I extended the proscenium. So the model comes with just this center base. I put it on a square base, deliberately with this step down, so that the eggs would be lower than my featured element, which is obviously Kane and the egg. Thanks to my good friends over at 3D Fig Lab, that's 3D Fig Lab, I have the wall, which is a half wall. They gave me STL files for the full wall, which would have had beautiful end pieces, but I was just out of real estate, and they're not here. So they've done an incredible job of figuring out just exactly the scale and everything else, just from the few measurements that I actually gave them. But what a difference this makes. It really adds an element to this that I'm just really proud of. The egg itself, I'm still debating whether or not to pull this down with some smoke. I certainly could do that, so that these green breathing lights, which I picked up from Evan's design, are just not as punchy. But I don't know. If I turn it around, you can see here that the flashlight is working brilliantly. And of course the light glow is just as different in the back as it is in the front, which I like that aspect of it. This egg in the back here is loose. It does not get glued down because it hides the switch, which is right there. But I did bring out some of the tentacles just to give it some importance, but that just sits there like that. You'll notice that the join here the seam hasn't been corrected. If I take this to Wonderfest, I'm going to have to correct this seam, and I may even extend some of these elements, these tentacle elements, around it, just to hide those seams and finish it off. That's probably a good thing to do. But, you know, at a certain point you got to stop. At least I have to stop. Otherwise, I don't know when to stop. And that is always a problem for me. It's a high-class problem, but it's a problem. Now, in this light, we're a little washed out, and everything is sort of pushing towards the greens, but I'm pretty happy with the overall look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up for a sort of a photo finish. We'll get the ramp up and a clean background, so we're not looking at it against all the mess on my bench. And I think we'll have some closing thoughts. We close the chapter on Executive Officer Kane from Polar Lights. It's an all-resin kit. It's one of a couple I'm aware of. The other one is The Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. Fun kits. Challenge if you want to light it. You've got some issues you're going to have to deal with. Not super complicated, but you do have to do some grinding, some drilling, and some chipping away at things. I would definitely consider expanding the proscenium just to have some fun with it, because you can really elevate it. My good friends over at 3D Fig Lab, you can find them on Patreon, you can find them on Facebook, and you can send them a line. They're 3dfiglab@gmail.com, and they will hook you up. They'll send you a whole catalog of their files that are available. They are super talented, and they were responsible for designing the eggs and the wall, which I think really added some incredible elements to this build. So I wanted to just sort of show you final here. This is the sort of the final of this build. Now, as I said earlier, if I decide I'm going to do something with this, like take it to Wonderfest or something like this, I probably will add a little more smoke to the egg. I'll probably add a few more tentacles to the wall just to hide some of the seams. But other than that, I am relatively happy with this, how this turned out. And I do think that this is, it's one of those models where it's more about the paint and the lighting, if you're going to go that route, than it is the build itself. But it's still, even if you decide to take it out of the box and just build it as is, you're going to have a great kit. And it's a great moment from a really interesting, dynamic film that I think has gotten forgotten, but it shouldn't be. Obviously, the Xenomorph is out now from Partworks, and so a lot of guys, including my dear friend Wayne over at World of Wayne, are building the Xenomorph, and you should definitely check that out. But there you go. We're going to move on to our next build, which I'm really super excited. Boy, there is so much happening in 24. Super excited for 24. Lots of builds coming down the pipe. But I hope you enjoyed this build, and thank you for coming along on this journey with me. If you want to get hold of me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com. Follow my In the Weeds Instagram posts on Spruverse, occasionally on TikTok, and once in a never moan on Threads, whatever that may be. But as always, I wish all of you, please be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.